Parenting is hard. One thing we used to consider really safe for our kids and effective, all of a sudden gets proven by science that it's no longer safe. As a parent, it comes with all the guilt of wondering, did we harm our child in the process? I've been there. I'm a pediatrician. I'm also a mom of three, two teens and a first grader. And today I'm going to share 5 things I did for my kids that knowing better through my pediatrics journey that I will probably not do again, and I don't even recommend anymore to my patients. And this is in no way to put more stress or judgment to us as parents, but to know that change is hard, but new things can come and we can easily adapt, or we can adapt slowly just to keep our kids safe. Number 1 is infant walkers. My first 2 sons, who are teens now, cruised around in infant walkers way before I even knew that those things were dangerous. Babies in walkers move at a speed of lightning, much faster than any parent can actually react. Baby walkers are one of those gifts you receive as a baby shower gift. In a Nigerian family, I actually received 2. And I remember my first son cruising in a walker, cruising towards the edge of the stairs, and it was luckily a family member who was coming up that caught him. It even occurred to me at that time that these were dangerous, and I ended up using it again for my second son. However, I learned during my last years of residency that baby walkers are dangerous after I had managed a few injuries, head injuries in some kids. And luckily my daughter, who is currently 6, ended up not using baby walkers because I had learned they might not necessarily help you walk. I have a whole new video that I published today also on baby walkers explaining why I use them, how they're helpful and how they're not, and I would suggest you watch that video here. The second thing that I did that I realized was totally wrong, the way I cared for minor wounds. So I was born and raised in a traditional Nigerian home, and alcohol and hydrogen peroxide was always found in our home, and we always used it for wounds. Growing up, once we had a cut, we believed that using hydrogen peroxide and pouring over the wound, the bubbling and the foaming effect meant that the wound was going to heal faster and heal better. But boy, was I wrong. But I used this for my own kids. It wasn't until later in life that I realized that using alcohol and hydrogen peroxide on wounds was a terrible idea. Those were our skin cells who were getting killed by the bubbling and foaming sensation, and it was not preserving, it wasn't making it heal better, it was killing the cells around it. It makes it take longer for the skin and your actual cut to resolve. So now this is what I learned, and this is what I do differently. When my child gets a small cut, I just wash it with mouth soap and water and damp it a little bit and cover with petroleum gel like Vaseline or bacitracin ointment, and then put an adhesive over it. Simple and easy. No more alcohol, no more hydrogen peroxide. Another thing I did wrong was using baby powder, dusting powder, talcum powder for my babies. First of all, I have a lot of pictures between me, my mom, and my mother-in-law, making my kids generally white so that way they are not hot or get a heat rash. So the powder was there to protect them. And also being used in the diaper area to make sure the diaper is not moist or getting diaper rash. A lot of baby powders contain talcum, which is a chemical which has been shown that when you're pouring the powder on your baby, they may aspirate a few particles of it, and that can cause what we call chemical pneumonitis, which is an inflammation of the lungs. But on the other hand, it increases your risk of a cancer based on several studies. So I've already done the damage, and I'm happy that my kids are healthy, but we no longer recommend using baby powder or talcum powder, any of those. Cornstarch on the other one is another option a lot of us use for the diaper area. Unknown to us, cornstarch actually increases and encourages growth of yeast. So while you're trying to make the heat rashes go away, we're also making it a little bit worse by using cornstarch because it increases the risk of yeast growing and makes the diaper rash worse and different. With my daughter, and recommendations I give now is use any safe petroleum jelly like Vaseline or any safe moisturizer for their skin. That's so much better. And then for their diaper area, if you're concerned about diaper rashes, you should probably use zinc oxide, or you can also use petroleum jelly, and those are really great. The powders are not best. They don't make the heat rash go away. They're not helpful in drying up the mucus in that area. Petroleum jelly is just perfect. So I feel a little embarrassed talking about number 4, but honey was also something my 2 kids took when they were younger. And I didn't give it to them myself, but this was something my grandmother did, and I actually didn't stop them because I didn't know better. We were working under the assumption that honey is supposed to help unravel the intestine so that when they started eating foods that are solid or adult food, they would tolerate it better. I did not know at the time that honey was very dangerous or is dangerous for babies who are younger than 12 months old. Honey can be contaminated by a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum, which can release spores, and when babies ingest this, the spores can also release toxins which can affect them. And because the intestines are not well formed and well developed enough to handle these toxins, it can get them really sick. This toxin, which is the same thing that Botox is made from, can paralyze the muscles in the intestine, make them super constipated and unable to pass any stool. It can also paralyze their breathing and make them unable to breathe and generally make them floppy. I made my mistake with honey and I am so grateful my kids were not affected, they didn't get sick. But now learning and managing kids with infant botulism, I always discourage any family or parent to offer honey to any baby who is younger than 12 months. It is so worth the wait. When they turn 1 year, you can offer honey as they grow. So this one has no strict rule or right or wrong answer to it. This is just me feeling I did wrong because I offered no nutritional value to them. And this is offering additional water to babies who are younger than 6 months old. So there are 3 reasons we don't recommend extra water for babies who are younger than 6 months. And this is me saying this after I already fed on my baby's water. 1, their belly size is really small. When they are newborns, it's about the size of a cherry and eventually grows to a size of a lemon by the time they are 6 months. And water has no nutritional value, so we always recommend stick to things that can give them more nutrition, like breast milk if you're breastfeeding, formula if you're formula feeding. The only water they can actually get is the one you're using to mix the formula because it already has compositions and the amount of water and the amount of scoops of formula you should use. After that, the additional water does not add anything to them. It doesn't help them poop better, so we usually don't recommend extra water. The second reason is their kidneys are still developing. They're small and delicate and also developing, and that places them at increased risk of what we call water intoxication, which kind of leads up to the third one. Their brain is also still developing, so if they get into the stage of water intoxication, which means they get way too much water than their body or their system can handle, it can pile in their brain and actually cause brain swelling and seizures. Of course, water intoxication and brain swelling is rare, but when babies are that young, we don't want to expose them to those risks. So for the reason that water does not add anything differently to them, which I learned later in life again, I always tell families if you can hold off, it's best not to offer any water. Maximize the nutrition in breast milk and maximize the nutrition in formula and let them have that. They can start drinking water at 6 months where they start eating like semi-solids or solids or merged foods based on what your preferences are. So these are some of the things that I did wrong in my parenting journey that I'm happy I actually learned along the way. Even though now when I educate, I always feel that guilt about you educating people, you did the whole wrong thing. But you know, evidence and science makes us better parents, better educators. So now I can share so other people can be safe. I am curious to know if you found any of this frustrating, if you learned any of this before and had to change it. Leave me a comment in the comment section and I will see you in the next video.